Hello, lovers of Black true crime. Let me welcome you to the Noir Nation. If I asked you to name me three Black serial killers, could you do it? What about a Black person that's pulled off a heist of epic proportions? Don't worry, I couldn't either. But being a lover of true crime and all things Black, I decided to combine these two passions into a true crime podcast exploring some of the most intriguing and lesser known criminal masterminds with a melanated leading cast. Each week, I will bring you the stories of some of the most prolific criminals you've never heard of. I'm your host, Renee Davis, and this is the Melanin Mayhem Podcast. I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't fucking with no broke niggas or whatever it was that Jamie Foxx and them had said. Hey, New Nation! Welcome if it's your first time joining us. Welcome back if you already are down for the cause. Baby, this week's Melanin Mayhem Maker is a woman that always got people to do what she wanted them to do. I feel like that is a broken record, like I say that every week, but these people are so good at getting people to bend to their will. This woman kept a man with a bank because Madame required a good steady bag, honey. She was a bootleg preacher and had the charisma and looks to talk you right out of your coat in the middle of a blizzard. Her con, talking her friends and family and strangers into taking out insurance policies that listed her as the beneficiary. After the policy was issued, a girl had a hitter on the payroll that took him out the game. Then she sat back and collected a check. She was a rich auntie, the one that left the country and moved to the city to drive a big old Cadillac. Our Melanin Mayhem Maker this week is Mrs. Geraldine Parrish. Our girl Geraldine started from humble beginnings. She was born May 2nd, 1936, as Geraldine Brown in Robersonville, North Carolina. Her parents, Zeno and Thelma Brown. That's a good strong name, Zeno and Thelma. Well, Geraldine was one of 12 children. They were deep off in that thing, baby. And her young life was full of tragedy, baby. Like several of her brothers and sisters were murdered, one way, shape, form, or fashion. There was Zeno Jr., he was poisoned. Lewis and Dennis got shot, not together, but both died the same. And then she had a sister named Dolly Mae that was caught up in a domestic violence situation, and her husband killed her. Ooh, honey. But baby Geraldine had dreams bigger than Robersonville, and she was determined to get out of the country and into the big city. So what does a young girl do in the Jim Crow South to get out of her mama and daddy house? You get married. And that's just what Geraldine did. At the tender age of 15, Jerry married her first husband. And she must have taken to heart when they said, practice makes perfect, because her first marriage was the first of 8 that we know about. You see, our girl Jerry, she was a polygamist way before y'all started talking about this poly shit. So let me tell you the story of the husbands and the killings and the insurance checks. Geraldine's first husband was a man named Elmo Rogers, who was 20 to Geraldine's 15 in 1951. And their marriage, according to the streets, produced 2 children. However, what the fuck happened to them? Don't nobody know, because they didn't go with her to the big city. I'm thinking that their daddy was probably like, nah, honey, you go right on ahead with your bad self. But these children, they're gonna stay right here with me and my family in Robersonville. And after all the shit that Jerry eventually got into, it don't seem like her kids ever tried to stand up for their mama or stand by their mama. Oh well. Now she did the housewife thing for a few years and helped raise the children, and then she hooked up with a man named James Perkins. This is in the mid 1950s, and they headed to New Jersey because remember, Jerry's got big dreams, and Robersonville was not it. Jerry had been raised in the Catholic Church, And once she got to New Jersey, she became a self proclaimed preacher and started preaching out of a storefront church. She also began studying voodoo and was incorporating the practices of the voodoo religion into the Catholicism, and she made her own little special brand of religion. So she's this self proclaimed prophet and a voodoo priestess, all rolled up into one. Because she was really into them roots and whatnot. What could possibly go wrong? When I was reading up on this, y'all, all I could think about was Pastor Patrice Woodbine down there in the valley. Y'all know the valley where the girlies get naked. I can't wait till P Valley come back on, y'all. I told y'all I was a little bit ratchet. Anywho, her marriage to James lasted about 12 years until Jerry added another man to the mix. Now, at this point, Geraldine is rich Auntie Geraldine. She riding around in big cars and wearing all the latest fashions. And when she go to Robersonville, she go back Big Willie style now. I mean, why not? She got that scam income coming in. Cause she charging people to fix their problems, if you know what I mean. Fixing them with some of them special herbs and spices and whatnot. Then she communing with the loved ones of people that had passed on. So then don't forget she's preaching. So she's got that collection plate of love offerings on Sunday. Madame is putting in that work, honey. But that family back home ain't really feeling her like that. Cause y'all know good country people, they don't really fuck with that voodoo shit. So they really scared and they side-eyeing her ass. But you know they doing the side-eye, but ain't nobody talking too loud because wasn't nobody trying to get no root put on their ass or nothing like that. Then Jerry married a man from New Jersey named Spencer Manning. Spencer was just a blip on the radar because she quickly moved on, and in October of 1974, she married a man named Troy Lee Parrish. Parrish, that's the last name she kept throughout all the rest of these shenanigans. Her and old Troy Lee got married at the courthouse in Plainville, New Jersey. Now, at this time, Jerry is 38. She done been around the block a few times and she want to do it big a little bit. So they had them a quaint little wedding ceremony at the city hall. Color coordinated, of course. The groom was in a black and blue tuxedo. And old Jerry was over there looking foxy in a blue dress, up there dressed for the gods. Unfortunately, that marriage crashed and burned somewhere around 1977. But Jerry, don't worry. Jerry's gonna move on, and move on. She did. She moves to Baltimore in 1984. Now she's still preaching, and she is still reaching into the pockets of any and everybody that she can. You know, at the church, one of the call to actions was getting the congregants to open up life insurance policies. You know, she's preaching and spirit is high. She probably hit them with a, y'all know crime is high round here. And we want to make sure that everybody can get put away properly. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And she talked them people into not only getting an insurance policy, but to name her as the beneficiary. Man, that talk game is on some next level pimpery because they did that shit. And that's going to be important in a little bit, y'all. So the real niggatry starts around 1985. Now remember, by this point, Jerry has moved to Baltimore. She has been married a bunch of times to a bunch of men on paper, but at this point, none of them are in the up close and personal sense, right? You know, ain't nobody in the house with them. She over there preaching at the Ship of Zion Church in that little plaza next door to the massage parlor and the nail salon and the Chinese takeout spot. You know, she's still getting people to sign up for them insurance policies when they open up the doors of the church. But what the people don't know is that, yes, you are getting an insurance policy, and yes, Geraldine is the beneficiary, but she wasn't going to take care of them in the way that they thought she was going to take care of them. See, Geraldine got a hitter on the payroll, right? So what she do is she pick a policy, and then she have her dude Elwood, her hitter, go handle that little business. Once the business is handled, Jerry collect the bag, and the cycle repeats. But these weren't just regular old insurance policies. Oh, no, no, baby. These were special insurance policies because they all carried what's called double indemnity. What that means is normally when an insured person dies of an unnatural cause, the policy is going to pay out double. Meaning, if you've got a $25,000 policy on yourself, you die of old age or a regular illness like a cancer, leukemia, something like that, heart attack. Your beneficiary is going to get them $25,000 that insurance policy is for. But if you got double indemnity on your policy, and let's say you get hit by a bus or mauled by a dog or got shot in a mug or some shit like that, something that's more accidental in nature, now instead of getting $25,000, your beneficiary is going to get double that. They're going to get $50,000 from the policy. Double indemnity. Okay, so on November 12th, 1985, a dude named Frank Lee Ross, who was 46 years old. This is Geraldine's sister, Hilda. It's her baby daddy. Frank and Hilda got 2 kids together, right? Frank get out of work one day. He working at a gas station. He is shot one time in the head behind that gas station where he just got out of work from, right? Now they say Frank was already sickly. Don't know exactly what the sickly was, but he was sickly. So it was probably a little easier for Jerry to convince him that he should go on ahead and make arrangements for his home going sooner rather than later. And guess what? Geraldine was the beneficiary on that policy, which was about $5,000, which of course would have doubled to $10,000 with that double indemnity. Now, Hilda wasn't the beneficiary. His mama wasn't the beneficiary. His children weren't the beneficiary. It was Geraldine. Geraldine collected $10,000 for Frank's policy, and she paid Edward $1,500 for his services. Moving right along, on October 6th of 1986, there was a man named Albert Robinson. Albert is 48. He met Geraldine when she was preaching in New Jersey some years back, right? Now, Albert, he a man with some demons, right? He liked to drink, he liked the drugs and shit, and Geraldine was pushing them life insurance policies back then, and old Albert got one. And even though now she's living in Baltimore, she done hatched up a plan to go back to New Jersey and take out Albert with her niece, a young lady by the name of Renee Burns. Renee is the daughter of Jerry's sister back in the country, right? And they get this dude named Lionel to go along. Renee was like, "Hey, Lionel, you can make some quick money. Whoop de whoop. We're going to do this, whatever." And Lionel's like, "Okay, fine." I wonder why she didn't get her regular hitter, Edward, to do this job. Maybe it would only work local hits. I don't know. Either way, they freelance this thing out. They go to New Jersey. They get Albert in the car by offering him all the liquor he could drink. Once they got him in the car, they got his ass pissy drunk. And then they drove him to a wooded area and they shot his ass. Or at least Lionel did. They left his body in the woods. But old Albert didn't die. He hung on. And I don't know how they figured out that Albert wasn't dead, but they did. I'm thinking that they were going to go back to New Jersey anyway to check on the body or whatever, make sure it was found. But either way, Albert is still alive. He hurt, but he's still alive. And he's still drunk as a skunk. So drunk, apparently, he don't remember nothing that happened yesterday. He don't remember that they shot his ass the night before. Albert get back in the car with their ass, and they drive him to Baltimore this time, still drinking. They get to Baltimore, they drive to a park, get out at the park, and they shoot Albert again. This time they leave his ass beside some railroad tracks. Now, in a what the fuck were they thinking moment, Geraldine gonna tell Lionel, "Look, nigga, you don't get no money until they find his ass. I wanna see Albert shit on the motherfucking news." So Lionel like, "Shit, bet. I know what I'm gonna do." Lionel go to a payphone and call 911 and tell them that he hear gunshots in the park. Now this is a dumbass nigga cause the payphone is right here in the park. What a goddamn body at, right? But that ain't the dumbest shit. Tell me why this nigga called 911 back to back to back to keep reporting these motherfucking gunshots from the same motherfucking telephone here in the park. I mean, he is calling 911 about these shots fired so much that the police is already in the park. They done found Albert's body, and you still on the payphone calling in talking about you hearing shots. Police was like, that's odd, but they kept it pushing, as they do. Well, Geraldine had a policy on Albert for $5,000. But of course, that double indemnity got her double for her trouble, and she walked away with $10,000, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Geraldine had a little situationship with a man named Curtis Bell in February of 1987. And you know how her shit end. That shit end in marriage. So This time on the marriage license, her name is listed as Geraldine T. Hill, age 38. This heifer was all of 51 at this time. Come on, ma'am. But old Curtis was a bad boy. He was in and out of jail. Now, Pastor, what you doing with a thug? Mm-hmm. Y'all know what she was doing with old Curtis. Like I said, Curtis was in and out of jail, mostly in, so he wasn't around when all these shenanigans and shits was going down. So our girl Geraldine has been married 5 times at this point and not a divorce in sight. She is the love 'em, marry 'em, and leave 'em type, right? Maybe. But what I know she is gaming the system and collecting marriage licenses along the way. So let's keep on with these goddamn shenanigans of old Geraldine's. Around the same time she was marrying Curtis, she also rented out her basement to a 65-year-old woman named Helen Wright. Helen didn't bother nobody. She minded her own business, paid her rent on time. Perfect tenant, right? Well, on February 1st, 1987, she was shot in her head while she was out taking a walk. Now, they rushed Helen to the hospital. She done got shot behind her right eye and lived to tell the tale. Like, woo! They get her better, and she is blessed to be in the number one more time. But, baby, don't you know, 1 month later, on March 6th, Geraldine was like, I got a taste for some Chinese. And she sends Helen, the woman that just got out the hospital with a bullet in her head, to go pick up the shit and bring it home. But I guess, Helen was the go along to get along type. So she goes to the Chinese restaurant to go pick up the food that Geraldine had ordered. Now, on her way back to the house with the food, don't you know somebody jumped out and shot this woman in the back of her head? This time she ain't make it. Geraldine must told El, nigga, you better not fuck this shit up. I got a check. Fuck that. Geraldine had a policy for $10,000 on Helen, which of course would have been doubled to $20,000 with that double indemnity. She gave Elwood $2,000 and kept the rest for herself. And if that wasn't enough, Helen was getting a Social Security check. And Geraldine didn't report shit. That check kept coming and Geraldine kept cashing. And baby, the basement is ready to be rented out again. 6 months later, on September 19th, 1987, Dolly Brown, who's 27 years old and is Geraldine's niece, and her boyfriend Ronald Mitchner, they are sitting at Ronald's house, just doing the shit that boyfriends and girlfriends do, hanging out in the kitchen, shooting the shit a little bit, just kicking it. All of a sudden, somebody bust in and started spraying the place. Boom! Ronald is shot several times in the head. He dead. Dolly survived, even though she caught several bullets to the dome, too. Again, blessed to be in the number one more time, y'all. Do you hear me, church? Police thought this shit was drug related and they just let the shit go. They ain't do no looking into it. They just, it's whatever. But Geraldine ain't finna let no check slide. Please believe she's gonna circle back around to Dolly's ass because she don't miss an opportunity for a check or an opportunity to get married. Because guess what? 4 days later, after her niece just got shot in the head, Geraldine get married again. Crazy, right? Well, who she married this time, Nay? This man, John Davis. Now, he moved to Baltimore after his wife died. So he's a widower, and he's trying to find out what his new normal look like now that his missus is gone. Old John is retired. You see, he had worked at a cigar factory as a custodian for years and years and years. But old John is green to these single streets, man, and these women out here in Baltimore is doing him all wrong. 'Cause before he crossed paths with Jerry, a woman had scammed him out of his life savings, talked him out of all $25,000 and left him standing there broke and dusty. Old John is feeling mighty low. So low, what you do when you're feeling low? He found him a church to fall off into and give his testimony. 'Cause God was going to get him back. Baby, he went to this church, and the pastor, a godly woman named Geraldine Parrish, she told him that she could help him get his money back after she heard his testimony. And not only that, she told him that she had plenty of room at her house if he needed a place to stay. You can rent my basement out, honey, until you get back on your feet. And just like that, old John is smitten with the first lady, baby. Everybody thought John was just renting out that basement of Geraldine's house, or so Geraldine put on. Turns out John was the next brother husband. Baby, that nose was wide open. So, boom, one day, September 23rd, 1987, to be exact, Jerry had to be in court for a ticket she got for an accident, right? Okay, boom. John go with her. I'm gonna stand by my chick, right? She been so good to me, I'm gonna be good with her. So she going to court to see about this ticket. While they just so happened to be at the courthouse, they stopped by the magistrate's office and got fucking married. Man, that wop must have been platinum coated and diamond encrusted. Like, who the fuck? Now, I told y'all John was retired. He was getting a social security check and a pension check every month. But when you know that his checks was being sent to a post office box, and guess who had the motherfucking key? Geraldine. She would go get this man check, cash it, and then give him $25 a month. She take my money when I'm in need. Jamie Foxx all over this episode. Like $25 a month, y'all. I understand it's 1987. And in 87, $25 went a long way further than it does in 2024. But still, it's $25 for a grown ass man. And of course, staying at Geraldine's house, he ain't have to worry about room and board, so he wasn't paying no rent probably. I'm sure Geraldine kept food in the kitchen, so he ate good. So he probably used them $25. That's enough to what, buy some cigarettes and maybe something to drink. But everything that he did, he had to ask his woman for it, even though he was getting a check. But while he was sitting there with $25 a month, oh, Geraldine went out and bought her a burgundy Cadillac Brougham. You know, the one with the diamond in the back. Gator boots and the pimped out Gucci suits. Ain't got no job, but I stay sharp. Ow, Geraldine. I told y'all I was ratchet. I love me some cash money, honey. Whatever. Anywho, she got her a burgundy Cadillac Brougham with the diamond in the back. And it's registered in her married name, Miss Geraldine Davis. But baby, then there was nephew Milton. Ooh, child. Milton E. Baines Jr., her 39-year-old nephew from Richmond, Virginia. December 1987, old nephew Milton lost his job laying pipe, and his girlfriend kicked him out. She was like, baby, I ain't got no use for no nigga who ain't got no job. So he moves to Baltimore, where his auntie lived. He made the switch to laying pipe on his auntie, y'all. Ew. Now, mind you, John Davis, remember him? He just got married to Geraldine. He is still living in the basement. And Milton claimed, like everybody else claimed, that he thought old John was just a boarder. But I don't know if I believe that, because they say old John would come up them steps looking for his wife for a little piece of sexual healing, honey. I don't understand. But Milton claims she put roots on him, that she had him under a spell, because ain't no way he would get into a situationship with his auntie. Even though while the shit was going on, he was around here talking about how he was the luckiest man in the world. Auntie was putting that incest cougar cat on his ass. Jerry is slick as hell, y'all, if y'all haven't figured this out by now. Now, at this point, she is married to 6 men, and she ain't done yet. While she was sexing up her nephew and the boarder in the basement, she still had another spot open on her roster. So there was this minister, a man named Reverend Rayfield Gilliard, who was 79 years old. His wife of 43 years had recently died, and old Reverend was out here lost in the world. He was tired of sitting up in the house by himself, so he asked God to send him somebody that could mend his broken heart, somebody he could spend the rest of his days with. And old Rev thought God did just that, because towards the end of 1987, he met a woman named Rosalind Brown. Rosalind was a PYT. And if you a little youngster and you don't know what a PYT is, that's a pretty young thing. Because old Rosalind was 49. So Rev got him a little tenderoni. He was also a stan of Miss Rosalind. So much of a stan that he married Rosalind a month later, January 18th, 1988. Yes, Lord, won't he do it? Won't he will he won't? That's what old Rev was probably saying, right? So after he got married, old Reverend is talking to his friend and fellow pastor, a man named Reverend Alfonso Thompson, who also happened to be the man who married him and Rosalind, right? He performed the ceremony. So he's shooting the shit with Reverend Thompson and he's like, man, I'm so happy. Oh my God heard my cries and he answered my prayers, honey. My new wife is fine. She a woman of God. You know, I heard her preach the other day and she could use a little polish and I'm gonna help her with how she deliver her sermons. But you know, I think I hit the jackpot. Or so he thought. 15 days after they got married, February 2nd, 1988, Reverend Gilead is dead. Officially, his cause of death is cardiac arrest. But the streets say he was fine until his wife fixed him a plate of pig's feet. And don't you know the day before he joined the ancestors, Reverend Gilead had changed his will to leave his estate to his new wife. And her sister was there to witness the signing of the change of the will. Mm-hmm. Now that estate that wasn't nothing extravagant, don't get it twisted. He had a little monthly social security check, but he was also waiting on a lawsuit to pay out from the company that held the mortgage to his house. And after he died, that case was settled. And what ended up happening was they basically just paid his house off. So his widow got a house that didn't have no mortgage on it, just a house in the free and clear, a check for a couple of $1,000s, and his social security benefits. That ain't bad for a 15-day marriage, honey. Hmm. Now check this out, y'all. When it came around to burying her husband, oh Rosalind, they say, according to the funeral home director, went for the cheapest option she could fucking do. They say that woman spent less than $1,500 on that funeral and she eulogized him herself. Less than $1,500. You can't do nothing funeral wise for $1,500. That's how much the damn casket costs. Much less embalming and all that carrying on now, baby. $1,500. Hmm. Well, guess what? We're gonna put a pin in Reverend Gilead for a second. Give me just a few minutes. I'm gonna come on back to him momentarily. So I got something else to tell you. Now, do y'all remember Dolly? Remember, she is Jerry's niece that got shot 3 times in the head? Well, she been in the hospital all this time. It's been 6 months. She been in there recovering, getting them bullets out her head. Well, she gets discharged from the hospital on March 6th, 1988. She been in the hospital for 6 months. What did she want to do first? She wanted to go see her grandmama. So boom, she slide through to Nana's house. Probably got her a plate of some of that good old grandmama cooking, because again, she been in the hospital eating hospital food for 6 months. She's over here, she's with her grandmama, whatever. She finished visiting her grandmama, she's gonna go home. So she's outside waiting on a cab to pull up. Because remember, this is 1988. This is pre-Uber. If you wanted to go somewhere, you either was gonna drive, get a ride, or call a cab. So she's standing outside her grandmama's house, waiting on the cab to pull up. Don't you know that somebody jump out the bushes and slit this woman's throat from ear to motherfucking ear? But baby, she had a praying grandmother. 'Cause honey, they was able to get her to the hospital and the doctors kept her from joining the ancestors yet again, honey. Ma'am, Dolly is like Bruce Willis, hard to kill up in this bitch. So Dolly's back at the hospital yet again, trying to recover from what should have been a fatal attack on her life. The doctors get her fixed up again, and she calls her auntie to let her know that they finna discharge her from the hospital on May 19th, 1988. This is like 2 months after she got attacked. Geraldine, being the ever thoughtful auntie, she offers to come pick up her niece from the hospital. And she did just that. She came to the hospital to get her niece. She just wasn't in a car. This bitch was on foot. They gonna walk home. Excuse me, auntie. I have been in the hospital for a legit 8 months straight. Like, I got 3 bullets in my motherfucking head and a goddamn Colombian necktie around my motherfucking neck. You mean to tell me I got to walk home? Fuck that. I'm an old ignorant bitch. I would have called me a cab. But maybe Dolly is triggered by cabs. I don't know. But I know that we would have a motherfucking problem. But boom, they don't care. They gonna walk. So at some point in time, Jerry pretended like Dolly needed to take a little rest. So she told Dolly to just sit down on a porch. a random ass porch in a random ass neighborhood, right? And she started walking off and she tell Dolly, I'm gonna be right back. She bend the corner on Dolly ass. Now while Dolly is sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck her auntie doing, don't you know somebody came out the bushes and shot her in the head 3 goddamn times? You heard me. She has been shot in the head another 3 motherfucking times. And as she is laying on the ground bleeding out, she heard the nigga that just shot her say, this bitch won't die. Lord, take me out, Jesus. Now, I don't know what kind of head Dolly got or what the fuck kind of bullets this shooter is using, because Miss Dolly does not die. Miss Dolly cheats death again. But this time, baby, she is under police protection. To this day, they won't say where they stashed Miss Dolly at. And it's so funny. It ain't funny, but it's funny because all I can see, y'all remember the movie Ghost that Whoopi Goldberg played in? She had this line where she was like, Molly girl, you in danger, girl. And I'm saying the same thing for Dolly. Dolly girl, you in danger, girl. All I know one thing. Oh, Geraldine was probably pissed the fuck off. Cause baby, she had a $10,000 policy on Dolly and couldn't collect that motherfucker for nothing in the world. All that means is when it ain't your time, it ain't your motherfucking time. Now, throughout all of this niggatry, Geraldine is still putting that incest cougar coochie on her nephew Milton. And all her hard work is about to pay off because Auntie Jerry and nephew Milton, they finna jump the broom. Baby, don't you know they got married July 1st, 1988? 4 months after she had married and offed Reverend Gilead in a motherfucking church with a motherfucking family present. They had a motherfucking ceremony complete with vows where Geraldine's incestuous, pedophilic ass say, quote, I've been loving you since you were a baby. This bitch said this in a room full of people that knew she was marrying her motherfucking nephew, including the motherfucking bishop, a nigga named Reverend Nathaniel Brown, aka Bishop Brown. Who, side note, Milton say old Bishop was one of the people who helped Geraldine put them goddamn roots on him. What in the incestuous, pedophile running around these streets bullshit is this? Like, I understand that Milton is a grown man, like he's not a child, so pedophile, but if you talking about you been loving him since he was a baby, bitch, that's pedophile at the top of the pedophile motherfucking chart. Again, I know he grown, but bitch, what you said was pedophilic as fuck. Now here go a little piece of tea too. On that marriage license to her nephew, she got her name listed as Geraldine Matthews, aged 40. Nigeria. Your ass is about 52 years old at this point. Girl, stop it. Sit your ass down. Now, as far as the voodoo of this goes, you can believe in voodoo or you cannot believe in voodoo. But I'm going to say that there was definitely some efforts on their part to groom Milton. Because Milton said Jerry kept him liquored up and on that heroin. He said that she would always take him to North Carolina to go see a root woman. And he was thinking that the root woman was fucking with his food. So I'm scratching my head at this point because my question is if you think the root woman is fucking with you, first of all, you going to go see a root woman. Why the fuck you go? Okay, she tricked you into the first time. Why the fuck you stay? Why the fuck you eat? I mean, after that first time you went down there and you thought some shit in the milk wasn't clean, why you go back again and again and a motherfucking again? Like, make it make sense. Then Milton say that Geraldine was trying to prove to him that she wasn't really his auntie. Say this bitch introduced him to a stranger, some man that was supposed to be her real daddy. Like this boy don't know that his daddy is your brother and has been your brother all his motherfucking life. Ma'am, if you don't sit your ass down, Bishop coming to play now. Milton say Bishop fucked around and rubbed some oil on his feet and told him that he needed to wear the same socks that he had on for 9 days straight. And that was gonna keep this his ex old lady away from him. Cause y'all remember when he was in Richmond and lost his job, he broke up with his girlfriend. Well, she followed him to Baltimore because she wanted her man back. See, it wasn't supposed to be a breakup. It was supposed to be just a little argument. They were gonna have some makeup sex and move on. But this nigga done jumped ship and ran to Baltimore, so she went to go get her motherfucking man. And the bishop and Geraldine is trying to keep her away from Milton. Girl, stop it, right? So Milton say Geraldine, the bishop, and the root woman all put that thing on him and had him fucked up in the head, right? Milton said, quote, I didn't believe in roots until it happened to me. I wouldn't have married my aunt for no amount of money because I got good sense. She did a hella fine job, and he did a hella fine job. I was so confused. I was all right until that man rubbed my feet. What? Now, what's crazy is that the bishop didn't deny none of this. He did not deny that he was around here playing with Milton's feet. But what the bishop said was that he did massage Milton's feet, but it was only because Milton had said he was having some foot problems. So the bishop thought he had some gout going on. So he was just laying hands on Milton. And I've been in the church all my life. I know about washing of the feet. I know about anointing with oil, but usually that anointing is done on the forehead. I ain't never in my life seen a bishop, a pastor, a minister, nobody take nobody's shoes off, socks off, and rub oil on their feet. I ain't saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I ain't seen it. Then Bishop say, I didn't keep that nigga drunk. I just gave him some church wine from time to time. SMH, 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 Lord. So we fucked up getting Dolly. Husband John is still in the basement, along with nephew husband Milton in the master bedroom. Jerry around this motherfucker frustrated that Dolly ass is still walking around breathing. So what's she gonna do next? Jerry ass get caught by accident. So how the hell did Geraldine get caught? Did the police realize that it was her after Dolly had 3 attempts on her life? Or was it the insurance company? Did they figure out some shit was going wrong and they rang the alarm? Nope, none of those things. It was her motherfucking hitter. Goddamn Elwood. This nigga done got caught up in some bullshit and the whole fucking sham came out. So let me tell you what happened. So Elwood, the nigga who go and do her dirty work for her, his ass got hired by a chick to kill her husband through a middleman dude named Rodney Vice. So chick want to kill her husband. She talked to Rodney, hey man, I'm trying to take my husband out of the game. You know anybody who can help me? Rodney like, shit, I know somebody. Boom. He hook her and Elwood up. He get a little payday off for the hookup, whatever. Elwood does indeed kill this woman husband. The business is handled. But the chick couldn't keep her mouth shut and she fucked around and told a coworker of all the people she could have motherfucking told. Bitch, you ain't never heard. You better not tell nobody but God. Come on, Color Purple. You can always find a good old Color Purple reference that work in any situation. But anywho, she tell the coworker. So what the coworker do? Coworker called the cops and was like, hey, this lady that I work with, she just told me that she killed her husband. Y'all might want to look into this because her husband is indeed dead. She got some time off for bereavement. So what the police do? They go and pick up the woman, they pick up Elwood, and they pick up the middleman, Rodney. So they down at the police station, everybody being questioned. So the police is asking Rodney, like, how you knew to call Elwood to make this hit? And Rodney was like, shit, cause he been killing for Geraldine Parrish for years. Police was like, say what, say who? So Rodney in this motherfucker, he want a deal. I don't want no parts of none of this shit. I can tell y'all what y'all want to know. And this nigga indeed started singing like a canary. He told them that Elwood had tried to kill Dolly 3 times and had fucked it up 3 goddamn times. And the police was like, wait a minute, Dolly, we know that case. Shit, we familiar with that. We ain't think that was nothing. Baby. The police came to arrest Geraldine on July 22nd, 1988. But please believe she did not go quietly. Madame started shaking and shit and falling out and rolling around on the floor and shit. So much so that they had to call an ambulance for that ass. But she was faking. And they knew she was faking. So when the ambulance get there, they check her out and called out the fakery. And then they turned around and left. And the police went right along with what they was doing, which was serving a search warrant on her house and her mama house. Baby, tell me why they found 45 insurance policies between the two houses. Like, goddamn, man. Now, what I would like to know is who sold her all these goddamn policies? Because nobody from the insurance company was ever charged. And also, I'm thinking if they found 45 policies, how many more had already been cashed out? Like, Jesus, how did Geraldine talk all these people into taking out a policy and naming her as the beneficiary? It wasn't like she was taking insurance out on people and they didn't know. They literally gave her the permission. They filled out the application. They did it willingly. That's a silver tongue for your ass. Come to find out, they did have one insurance agent that sold Geraldine some policies to testify at her trial. A lady named Diane Crawford, she worked for the James R. Brown Insurance Company. She said that Geraldine had come in there one day and was asking her about opening up a policy. So she did what insurance salespeople do. She told her everything that was needed, and Geraldine was like, okay, bet. Let me get the application and take it home, and I'll bring it back tomorrow. Diane was like, oh, no, you won't. Excuse me, who the fuck is this policy for if it ain't for you? Because you right here in front of me and can fill it out right now. And Geraldine was like, no, it's for somebody else, but we'll be back. And so she leaves. Diane don't think none of it. The next day, here comes Jerry back with 3 motherfucking men. One of those men, when they came back, was Mr. Albert Robinson, and they completed 3 applications with all 3 of them listing Geraldine as the beneficiary. So Diana's sitting there looking like, what in the fuck is going on here? So she do what salespeople do. She started chit-chatting and making small talk, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Come to find out, all 3 of these men go to the church that Geraldine preach at. So now Diane looking at Geraldine like, bitch, what the fuck you got going on? And Geraldine, slick tongue ass was like, yeah, the church gets policies on the members to help defray the cost of burying them because, when you die, the last place you end up is at the church. And we can't bury everybody, but we want to make sure that we can bury as many as we can. Diane sitting there looking at her like, okay, bitch, if that's the story you going with. But it didn't stop her ass from selling her them 3 goddamn insurance policies. Now, between November of 1985 and May of 1988, a total of $79,000 worth of life insurance policy checks was cashed by Geraldine, honey. Ooh, that's good bag, honey. Ma'am. So they got her at the police station, and they questioning her, and she playing in their face. First she played dumb. I don't know what you talking about. What you talking about, Willis? Next, she started speaking in tongues and rolling around on the floor, acting like she was slayed with the spirit. And the police was sitting there looking at her like, bitch, not impressed. For her next act, the bitch started trying to flirt with the goddamn interrogators. Ooh, you look so nice in your uniform, honey. We need to go somewhere a little bit more quiet. Let's talk alone. Again, they weren't going for it. So at this point, Geraldine, you're going to need to confer with the root doctor because these cops is not falling for your charm, baby. Well, Geraldine go to court for a bond hearing on July 25th, 1988. And y'all know a bond hearing, it don't last but a few minutes, right? But during her brief time in the court, they say she was putting on for the city, baby. They asked her, ma'am, are you all right? And she told the judge, I got a brain concussion and I take treatments. And the judge looked at her and was like, okay. And then wrote down possibly mental in notes and kept that shit moving. You know crazy when you see crazy. So while the police are building their case against her, they found a death certificate for Reverend Gilliard when they was doing their search warrant. So they go in and they start questioning his friend, remember, Reverend Thompson. And Reverend Thompson tells them that he thought something weird was going on. He didn't think that his friend died of natural causes and his widow ain't been nowhere to be found. So the police know who his widow is, but it don't match the name that Reverend Thompson keeps saying. He keeps talking about this lady named Rosalind, but they know that it's Geraldine. So they show him some pictures and ask him, do they see the Reverend's widow in these pictures? And so Reverend Thompson is flipping and flipping and flipping. He's like, "Ooh, there she go. That's Rosalind right there." And the police was like, "Yeah, no, her name is not Rosalind. Her name is Geraldine Parrish." So, okay, boom. The cops think, okay, maybe she poisoned Reverend Gilliard. And after talking with his friend, Reverend Thompson, they were like, boom, yeah, we think this is a good lead. So they decided to exhume Reverend Gilliard's body and test it for poison. And that was probably an excellent idea. And they did indeed go out there and dig up a body. It just wasn't his body. So, oops, my bad. They reburied the wrong body. And they go in and dig up another body. Damn it, this ain't Reverend Gilliard either. So now they're like, what the fuck is going on? So they get with the funeral director and they get with the cemetery. And come to find out, Geraldine really ain't shit. Don't you know this motherfucker, after she killed the Reverend and got his money, she didn't even bury him properly. This man is buried in a mass pauper's grave. Now, if you don't know what a mass pauper's grave is, when you got a body that ain't nobody claiming, the city still buries that body. They just have them in a hole with a whole bunch of other bodies. It's a mass grave. It's not a single plot with a single body. Who knows how many bodies can be in here? And this is where Reverend Gilliard is. We don't know which one of these bodies is Reverend Gilliard, and it's just too much to be trying to take him out. And is this him? Is that him? It was just a mess. So this whole plan to test his body for poison, great in theory, but ain't gonna work out in the end. This woman is trifling. Oh my God, she's trifling. Now, in a strange turn of events, when Geraldine was arrested, Milton, the nephew husband, and Mr. Davis, the basement husband, boarder, him and Milton, they done struck up a friendship. They visited Geraldine in jail together. Say when Geraldine would see him, she'd be like, "Ooh, my two beautiful husbands have come to see me." Nigga, what? Milton said, "Wherever I go, he go. Wherever he go, I go." Well, they say birds of a feather flock together, and these were some very strange birds indeed. Now, they got Geraldine for murder. They decided not to prosecute her ass for bigamy because that's just a small thing in the face of all the actual real shit that's going on. And the trial did start March 29th of 1989 for the death of Albert Robinson. And old Geraldine was putting on an insanity defense. And they say Geraldine was in that courtroom showing out, baby. Say sometimes she just be howling and growling in the courtroom just randomly. Or she would jump up and start trying to rearrange furniture. Ma'am, can you please sit down and leave this table and these chairs alone? Everybody sitting down. Geraldine all of a sudden just gonna stand up. And so of course the judge is like, ma'am, I need you to sit down. And she gonna tell the judge, Missy, I've been sitting for too long. Missy? Who the fuck is Missy? If you don't address me by my real judge name, bitch, please. But anyway, they knew that she was up here with these shenanigans, and they wasn't worried about these motherfucking shenanigans. But they also knew because you're trying to put this mental defect insanity plea up, what we're gonna do is go and get you seen and get you tested. So they sent her over to the Clifton T. Perkins Hospital to get her see if she was mentally competent to stand trial. And she was in there trying to play in their face, but they weren't trying to hear that shit at the hospital, man. We done seen it all before. You guys to get up early in the morning to put one on us. And they declared her as mentally competent to stand trial. But just because they found her competent didn't mean that Jerry was going to go quietly. Baby, this trial done started on April 3rd. We done got the jury in. We sitting down. We finna get down to business. It's towards the end of the day, and they say Jerry started shaking uncontrollably. Say her eyes was rolling back in her head. She foaming at the mouth and writhing on the floor like, bitch, what is you doing? You just carrying on. So much so that they stopped the trial. Again, it's late in the day, but that's exactly what Geraldine wanted. When they say everybody was pissed because they knew wasn't nothing wrong with her ass. So the judge told her, look here, bitch, we ain't finna be doing this shit here. Ain't nobody finna be listening to you carrying on in this courtroom every day. What we gonna do from this day forward is ignore your ass. We gonna be right back in here tomorrow morning, and ain't a goddamn thing you can do that's gonna stop this trial again. Oh, Geraldine was trying to get that jury to sympathize with her, but they wasn't buying what the fuck she was selling either. Now, during the course of the trial, Albert's girlfriend, a woman named Marion Smith, she testified that they had met Geraldine while they was out here in this world, right? Because her and Albert were alcoholics, and Jerry would minister to them from time to time, but say that she spent more time with Albert than she did with Marion. Marion said that Jerry was always inviting people to come to her church, and at the time, they knew her by the name Madame X, which sounds very S and M to me, but whatever. That's what they knew her as, Madame X. And they say that Jerry would come get Albert and take him to church more often than she did Marion. And Marion said when she did follow up in the church services, she remembered that they would try to get the attendees to take out a policy. She just thought they was looking out for the well-being of the congregants. Marion said she thought it was a health insurance policy that they was trying to push these people to get, not a life insurance policy. Well, next up on the trial was Gary's niece. You know, the one that was in the car with her when she killed Albert or Renee. Well, now Renee is testifying for the state against Jerry. She told the court, oh, slimy piece of tea about Jerry, too. She said that before her mama had died in 1987, her mama had been living with a man for 15 years who was like her stepdaddy, right? She said after her mama died, she went to go see her stepdaddy in prison. And he told her that the reason he hadn't married her mama was because he was already married to Jerry. What the motherfucker? You are my uncle's stepdaddy? Ew. So, Jerry Springer, like what in the whole hell? Then he told her that Jerry had came to see him while he was in jail and told him that her sister's death was not an accident. Jerry said that she had poisoned her sister, poisoning her orange juice. Said that she was tired of her shacking up with her man. What the fuck? Renee said that after he heard what Geraldine had done, that he was through with her ass. You should have been through with her. Like, ugh, I can't even unravel all this. But what I want to know is why he felt the need to tell this to Renee, because I don't know. Did any of this actually happen? I don't know. But I do know that if this mystery man is true, this will make 9 husbands for Jerry. And they would have had to have gotten hitched somewhere in the mid 70s, which is quite possible. Now, Renee is testifying about this story at the trial. She has admitted that, I had stars in my eyes about my auntie's lifestyle. At first I was just her young niece. I was looking up to my rich auntie and the lifestyle that she was living, and I wanted that life. Auntie Geraldine told me she could show me how I could get it. Even though all my life I have heard rumors about Auntie Jerry. Some of people in the family think she walk on water. She's a woman of God, even though if it is a self-proclaimed title. While others in the family think that she the devil incarnate and will do anything to anybody to get what she wanted. And, they thought that she used voodoo to hurt people and they ain't want no parts of her. And after hanging out with my auntie for a little while, I was starting to see that the ones who thought she was the devil was a little bit more right. Cause I was starting to have second thoughts. And then after I saw that insurance scam close up and personal, man, I really started having second thoughts about my lifestyle, about my auntie, about everything. Funny thing though, she ain't started having all them goddamn second thoughts till they indicted that ass as a co-conspirator. Bitch, you just trying to save your own neck, cause you still going down with all the bullshit that Jerry going down for. So anywho, April 6, 1989, the case goes to the jury. They took 2 hours, 120 minutes to find her ass guilty of murdering Albert Robinson. And she caught a life sentence for her efforts. Now, after this, she was like, fuck this. She pled guilty to every other count they throwed against her because Geraldine said, I ain't got time for no more long, drawn out court cases. Y'all don't want to play with me, so I don't want to play with y'all neither. So when it was all said and done, she ended up with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and a count of hiring a person to commit murder. She ended up, for all her trouble, with 2 consecutive life sentences. Y'all know that means, bitch, we got you now. If you die and come back, we got your ass again. Then she had 6 concurrent life sentences on top of that. Like, bitch, you ain't gonna never get out of jail. Miss Geraldine served all her time at the Maryland Correctional Institute for Women over there in Jessup. And in 2004, she joined the ancestral plane, dying of natural causes. Y'all, Geraldine Parrish was taking people out the game for insurance money. And people knew it too. They just turned a blind eye. The police, they didn't care that Helen and Dolly had multiple attempts on their lives that resulted in horrific injury, but they didn't look into it. When the community and the police don't give a fuck, man, serial killers can and do run rampant. Jerry used people as stepping stones. She didn't care who she stepped on and who she had to kill to get her next check, 'cause this was her full-time job. Thank God for the loose lips that sank this ship, man. Because if Rodney Weiss, remember the middleman, if he hadn't got caught up in Edward's shit, Jerry would have been able to keep going. And I also wonder how many policies were cashed in, like in New Jersey. How many policies were cashed in under an alias? I mean, if they found 45 at the house, that's 45 potential victims. But how many more were actual victims? 45 sounds like a big number, but if that's what was left, How big was the number originally? Was it 60 policies, 75 policies, 100 policies? Like she was a storefront preacher with people passing through all the time, transient people, easily forgettable people. How many missing black people in the United States fit that description? How many are being preyed upon by bootleg pastors? Think about it. For many in that situation, you end up at the church when you're going through it, right? When you down and out, don't know where your next help coming from, when your guard is down and you're vulnerable, out here looking for a miracle, you end up at the church. And this sweet, caring person that is ministering to you could be setting your ass up for the kill. We have to be mindful that everybody is not here to help. And if it seems too good or it comes too easy, it might just be the setup and your ass the patsy. Well, anywho, that's it for our Melanin Mayhem Maker this week, y'all. Mrs. Geraldine Parrish, a prolific scamming, serial killing, planning motherfucker that you ain't never heard of. One of the main reasons I'm doing this podcast is to educate. I'm here to remind you that there are some really sick and twisted crimes happening to innocent people everywhere by people of all colors, of all creeds, of all sexual orientations. And while the mainstream media will have you believing that black crimes are singular in nature, one black person killed one other person for usually a crime of passion or something that's drug related, but that is simply not true. We are out here. We have been out here heavy, doing all kinds of bullshit. And we've been getting away with it because this myth that has been spread far and wide that black people don't do this kind of stuff is just that. It's a myth. And we are being discounted. And that is to our detriment because in many cases, these criminals hunt among the people that they are most comfortable with, the ones that look like them. Remember, there used to be a time when, as a black person, you would hear about a crime and immediately say, I know they weren't black. And once upon a time, we thought that that was true. But as this podcast shows, this stuff has been going on for a long time. Those days of being naive and having our heads stuck in the sand have got to be over, boo boo. I am one of the keepers of the oral history of some of the sickest skeletons in our collective melanated closet. And because I want you to know that some shit has popped off that didn't get no play that you really need to know about. And besides, you like true crime, right? I hope that you have found this episode interesting and informative. And if you did, why don't you drop a review and tell me all about it? And then I need you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, and then tell your mama and them to join the New War Nation. Melanin Mayhem would love to hear from you. You can find us on all the socials: Facebook, Insta, X. We're at Melanin Mayhem Podcast or at Melanin Mayhem Pod or at Melanin Mayhem PC, depending on which platform you are on. And if you know of a melanated baddie that you'd like for me to do an episode on, you can reach out at melaninmayhempodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, y'all, stay vigilant. And remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. New Orleans Nation is one love, and we are out.